If you're a health or a life coach who has a coaching package or coaching services to sell, then you're going to need a sales page. Today on the show, I'm going to break down all the key things that you need to cover in a really effective sales page that is going to sell your coaching packages. Let's dive in. Hi there, welcome to the Wholehearted Business Show. I'm Laura. I help health and life coaches get more clients, grow their businesses, and live the best lives while they do it. And today on the show, we're talking all about sales pages, specifically for your coaching packages or coaching services. Now, ideally, you want to be creating a sales page on your website, but if you don't have a website, don't let that stop you. Sometimes a website takes a long time to put together, but there's no reason why you can't be working to get clients even while your website is still getting sorted out. So there's various different places that you can share a sales page type thing, which we're going to talk about what that is in a second. So it's a really great way to basically communicate the value of what it is that you are offering. And there's certain ways that we can do that. And I'm going to give you basically kind of like a step-by-step, point-by-point list of things to cover in a sales page, so that you can really effectively sell your coaching package and your coaching services. When it comes to your sales page, there's two key elements to it. The first one is the design and the second one is the copy. We're going to focus on the copy today, the words that you're actually going to put together to talk about, describe, communicate all the value of your coaching package. But the design is obviously quite a big side of it as well. And it's something that's been coming up with a lot of clients recently. They've been asking me, how do I visually design this information so that it's engaging, so that people want to consume it, people want to move through that information. And I'm considering maybe doing a small training. So if that's something that you would love to know more about, please let me know. Pop me a DM on Instagram. I'm at Wholeheartedly, or leave me a comment below if you're watching on YouTube. Really happy to explore that if it's something that a lot of people are also struggling with and you want to know a bit more about how to actually visually present information. So like I said, ideally this is a sales page that's going to be on your website. But if you don't have a website yet, that doesn't have to stop you. There's various different places where you can put this information together and share it. And that's essentially what this is. It's about putting together information that people need to make a decision on whether or not they want to work with you as a coach and engage in your coaching package or coaching services. And there's various different ways that we can do that. So alongside your website, if you don't have that yet, you could also use a landing page. Lots of email service providers will allow you to design landing pages and they can be used in a similar way to a website. Canva's a great option as well. You can create a sales page on Canva and then publish it. One of my clients has done this recently, and then publish that and share that with people until you get your website up and running. You can also use a Google Doc, whether that's a Google Doc that you just share the link to, or you can download that as a PDF and share the PDF. And you've also got things like Notion, which I'm a big fan of. You can create a page in Notion, publish that to the internet, and then share that link. So there's various different ways of being able to put together and share this information about your coaching services so people can make the decision to work with you. Now we're going to cover the step-by-step, the kind of key things that you want to include in a sales page. This is what I'm always thinking of. This is very, very structured, but this is always my starting point when I'm sitting down to start writing sales copy. Obviously, we have wondrous things now like ChatGPT, which might be able to help you, but I really find that having this starting point and really starting with your own words is going to get you the by far the best result. What you don't want to do is have your copy sound like it's been written by a robot, and that's what ChatGPT will often do. So I'm going to try and give you some tips in terms of things to think about when you're putting the copy together that is going to make it stand out and make it really, really engaging. So the first thing that you're going to want to have on your sales page is a headline, and that is basically just a key piece of copy that pulls people in. It kind of tells people that they're in the right place and it grabs their attention is essentially what it needs to be. This can be tricky, and this is, again, feel free to use tools like AI if you need the help to kind of get out of your own head. I think AI is fantastic as a writing assistant, and sometimes that can be really, really useful. So play around with ideas for that kind of key headline thing. And this might be focusing on a key problem or a key challenge that your ideal clients face. It could be looking at a key outcome that they want and really honing in on that and really grabbing their attention with some copy that reflects that back to them. So the first thing that you want to have put in place is a headline statement. The next section that you want to look at is really talking to them about where they are now. This is really your opportunity to show people that you understand how they are feeling, the challenges that they are currently experiencing, what their life looks like. Because without that understanding, it's hard to kind of take them on the journey that you're going to take them on. And ultimately, your coaching package is about a transformation. You are taking people from one state to another state that they desire more. And it's about how you communicate to them what that transformation is, that it's a transformation that they actually want, and that they trust that you can actually deliver that transformation to them. So there's quite a few different moving parts, but starting off with this section and talking about, I get what you are experiencing right now. I understand that you've got these challenges. I understand that this is really hard. This is really difficult. Perhaps your life is looking in this particular way. And this is why I always say to clients is use in real life examples and try and use your own tone of voice, because it can sound really robotic, and just lacking in your own personality. So don't be afraid to use really either funny or kind of really poignant in real life examples that are going to really help people resonate with what it is that you're saying. And by that I mean, instead of saying to someone, if you're a busy mum and you're really frustrated with the fact that you're a busy mum and you've got no time for yourself, it could be like, are you fed up of, not being able to go to the toilet for 5 minutes without having a child wanting to sit on your knee while you are trying to go to the bathroom? Like, you don't even have 5 minutes to go to the bathroom. Like, you could be telling these stories that people are going to relate to. And this is so effective when it comes to writing sales copy, because people are going to be like, yes, they get me. This coach, she actually gets where I'm at. And if they feel understood and they feel like you get them, then they're going to start to feel like, maybe if she gets where I am now, then she's the person who can take me to where I want to be, which is what we're going to get onto in a second. So really setting the scene with that. Often I will bullet point out some of the key challenges and maybe tell a couple of little paragraphs where it's a bit of a story around those in real life examples that people might be experiencing in their day-to-day life that are kind of funny, silly, just very poignant in real life stories that are going to reflect back to them the challenges that they are facing now. The next point is a really good time to kind of summarize and present your coaching package. So it's kind of saying look, I get that you are experiencing this. It's not where you want to be. It's frustrating, it's hard, it's difficult, etc. This is my solution. I know that you want to feel this way. It is possible. This is my solution. This is my coaching package. And you kind of give a summary. This is not where you necessarily bullet point out exactly what they get, but you give them the summary of what it is that your coaching package is all about. The next section of your sales page should be focusing on the outcomes. And this is where we talk to people about the actual things that are going to be different in their life after they have worked with you. This is the transformation. I have talked about the A to B method quite a few times, and really what we're doing is point A is where they are now, that section that we talked about in terms of, how they're experiencing life now. This section in terms of the outcomes is where they want to be. And it's about reflecting that back to them. What you want to be careful of in this section is that you're not over-promising your results, and that you're being realistic about what it is that you can help people achieve within your coaching package. So just bear that in mind. And it might be that this is kind of based on, your outcomes might be a little bit hypothetical when you're beginning as a coach, but they might be based on your own experiences and your own transformation, or hopefully they're going to be based on the experiences of previous clients. This is where you can also start to back up some of your information with social proof, which is basically screenshotted things like Facebook comments, emails, Instagram comments, those kind of screenshots that you see, or testimonials from clients as well, because that provides a little bit of proof. And that kind of says, she's not just pulling this out of thin air. She has actually helped other people who are similar to me experience this transformation. And it's creating that belief in you as a coach that you can help them experience this transformation that they really want to experience. So we want to get really clear on the outcomes. We don't want to overpromise, but we also want to share what it is that we can help people get to, the state that they can get to. Again, using real life examples, they can be really wonderful to illustrate and help drive home those points. So look at what that journey all looks like together and kind of summarize that outcome. And again, I would use bullet points. That can be really, really helpful. And also visually, it helps to break up the information as well. The next section that you want to include in your sales page is a little bit about you. Now, you're going to assume, again, and something I'm really interested in is how people interact with our content and our pages and things like that, like how people kind of find them and what information they already have about us and things like that. But assuming that someone doesn't know you very well, this is where you sell yourself. This is where you talk about why should someone work with you? What is different about you as a coach? What is it about your experience that makes you a person that can take people through this transformation? And this is where you big up yourself, basically. You talk a bit about you, about your experiences, about why you're the right person to take them through this journey. And that's a really important part of what you need to communicate. Again, this is all about giving people information that is going to help them make the decision to work with you and communicate the value and help them trust. I think this is such a big thing, is They need to trust that you can take them through that experience and that transformation. There's also a bit of they need to trust themselves, and sometimes that's a whole other part of the equation that you need to look at, but they need to trust. And you are creating that in your words, you're communicating that in your copy so that they can see, yes, I can see that this is where I want to get to. I can see that this person's done this before with people, they've done it themselves. Therefore, I feel like this is a transformation that I can achieve too. You might also want to have a section which is, who is this for? So this is really about helping to call people in really specifically. So it might be kind of clear from other bits of copy that this is designed for a certain kind of person who's experienced a certain kind of struggle and wants to get to a certain place. But this is where you can really drive it home and really call people in and kind of repel people who might not be a great fit. This is not why you necessarily need to use language like, anyone who's not committed. This is not for people who are not committed to their transfer. Sometimes that's a little bit shamey and we don't necessarily want to get into that. But this is where you can really call in and say, this is for you if you are such and such, experiencing this, working in this kind of job, this kind of industry, doing this kind of thing. This is where you can really get clear. And what that does is it just reinforces to people, oh yes, this is actually for me. Because sometimes people have doubts in their head as to like, is this actually meant for me? Is this sounds like it is? But when we get to really specifically call people in, that's really effective. You can also do the opposite and say this is not for you if, and it might be that your coaching package has very clear things, clear reasons why it's not going to be for some people. Often with coaching, it is about saying, if you are, for example, if you're coaching around nutrition, it might be very clear that you don't work with people who have been diagnosed as having an eating disorder. You might not work with people who have been diagnosed with cancer. There's various things about your scope of practice, and you might want to be really clear on that, depending again on what your scope of practice actually is. You might be very comfortable working with those people. That might be part of your work, but it might not. And this is where you get to set that out if you need to. The next thing you want to include in your sales page is your kind of big call to action. And by that is, sign up for this program. It's amazing. And what we want to have in this section is the features of the coaching package. So you might want to list out, you get this many sessions over this amount of time, you get this support, these extra resources. This is where it's really, really good to talk about the tangible things that you can give people. Coaching itself is quite an intangible thing. We try and make it tangible by talking about the outcomes, about helping people see that how coaching will work to help them get from A to B. And again, when I talked on the episode of the show recently about having a signature coaching package, having a method underneath that is another thing that helps people see some tangibility. And if you do have a signature method, then it might be that you have a section in the sales page where you specifically talk about that. But assuming that you don't yet, that's absolutely fine. You're going to want to list out, and either way, if you do or not, you're going to want to list out those key features. So how many sessions is this? Like the nuts and bolts, things that people need to understand about how this works. So you're going to want to bullet point that stuff out, and then you're going to want to have the price. Now, there's a whole conversation about whether or not to have your price on your sales page. I'm a big believer in having the price on there and being transparent about it, because really, to me, there's no other way I would want to do it. Like if I don't say a price on a sales page, I tend to automatically assume it's out of my price range. That's just, this is growing up reading like Elle magazine and seeing, the Chanel bags with price on request. You kind of just assume that it's going to be out of your price range. But depending on who you are and the way that you coach and your actual pricing, there might be good reasons not to have that on and just to encourage people to sign up for sales calls. That might work better for you. But generally speaking, my general advice to people is to have the price on there. It saves your time having to do sales calls with people. You don't want to have to be in that energy when you're selling to someone on a discovery call or a sales call if they don't know what the price is. I just think it feels a lot better, especially if you're a newer coach, to start off with the price on there. So you're going to want to have the price, and you also want to give them the next step that they need to take. Now that might be a big button to book in for a discovery call. It might be a buy now. You might just have the option for people just to buy now and sign up now, but you have some next action that you are giving people to take so that they can progress and actually sign up to work with you or find out more. It's totally up to you which one you go for. Again, I've talked about my own kind of method, and there's a big section on what is your sales process around this. So you want to have that clear, but whatever the next step is, you want to have that really clear alongside the price, if you want to use that, and also those kind of bullet pointed out features of the actual coaching package or program. This section is always really good to also have some testimonials close to it, because again, people are at the point where they're seeing the price, and it's really good to see that kind of social proof or that evidence that you are able to get them the outcome that they want. So it's really good to kind of have those close together when you're presenting this information, so that they can say, oh yeah, she's actually had someone through this. And again, don't be disheartened if you haven't got a lot of testimonials. If you're a newer coach, that's fine. It's not to say that people are not going to sign up and work with you if you don't have loads of testimonials splashed everywhere. But it's one of those things that does help over time. So again, think about getting good testimonials. I will link to an episode of the show where I've talked all about getting good testimonials, and that will be really, really helpful when it comes to putting your sales pages together. And then finally, you might want to have an FAQ section. Now, the way that people have traditionally looked at FAQs is kind of a little bit about addressing objections that people have. Now, by this, it means that people are going to have things in their head, the reasons why they think that this is not for them, why it won't work for them, reasons why they shouldn't sign up. And this is where you get to address them, as well as actual FAQs. So see how you feel about this one, but often FAQs are around, is there a payment plan? How do the calls work? Will I get results? Can you promise me results? Things like that. You can address a lot of potential objections in those FAQs, as well as actual questions that people might have. And it just really reassures people. It gives people that extra bit of information. Usually they're hidden through like some drop downs or toggles if you've got that design feature available on whatever it is that you're using. But it's really good to think about like what is going to be in people's heads when they're looking at this. What are the reasons that they're going to give themselves to not do this, and maybe respond to that in an FAQ. Now, this is just a very, very rough kind of framework that you can use to design a sales page or to write your sales copy. Do go off plan with this. You don't have to be really, really structured. Like, this is to be fair, quite a traditional way of looking at sales pages. And I really encourage everybody to be creative and think outside the box, not just with your copywriting, but also with the kind of way that you are communicating stuff, the order that you're doing things in. Like, it's fine to experiment and put your own stamp on it. I'm going to recap all of those different kind of sections in a second, but this is just a starting point. You can get experimental. Put yourself in the position of your client who might be reading this, or your potential client who might be reading this, and what would they need to know? What do they need to know? What do they need to understand? This is about communicating the value of what it is that you offer and giving them the next steps. What do they need to better understand, feel? Like, that is such an important thing. We want people to feel something when they see your sales page. We want them to feel an emotion. We want them to resonate. We want them to want to take action, when we see it. So think about all of those things. So just to recap the different sections that we looked at for this kind of sales page structure. So we talked about the headline. We talked about kind of painting the picture of where they are now, perhaps bullet pointing some things out, perhaps telling some in real life kind of stories, examples to help illustrate that and to help create more resonance. So a section around where they are now. Then we've got a section that kind of presents your coaching package as a solution to those challenges that they're facing right now. And then we talk about the outcomes, like where it is that we can take them to. We're not going to overpromise, but we're going to really talk about the place that we can get them to and really illustrate that transformation that they're going to go through. Then we're going to want to talk a little bit about us and why we're awesome and why we're the person to take them through that particular journey, why we're the right person who is going to get them this transformation. We're going to sprinkle testimonials throughout as well. We're going to want to talk about who is this for and who is it not for. We're going to want to call the right people in, and we're going to want to summarize and then give a call to action. So we're going to want the price. We're going to want to make sure people understand what's actually included in the coaching package, and we're going to want to give them those next steps in terms of a button to book a call or to buy now, or something that gives them that very clear next step. We're also going to want to have some FAQs if we need to, that also address questions that people might have, but also kind of thinking about the objections that they might have and kind of responding to some of those so people feel that those are being addressed as well. And there we have it. That is a bit of a structure for a sales page that is going to communicate your coaching package really, really well. Like I said, the design side of it is slightly different. I've tried to give a few little design points, but ultimately, use headings, use bullet points where necessary, bold up text if you want to kind of catch people's eye. There's all sorts of little design things that I can talk about, and like I said, let me know if that's something that you want me to talk more about. But yeah, I'd love to know if this has been helpful. Please let me know if this has been useful to you on the show. Give me a shout on Instagram. I'm at Wholehearted Laura. Leave a review on the podcast if you are listening there, and also comment and like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And I will see you next week, guys. Take care. Bye.